Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. Exciting day here as we go back to the top of the Premier League with a 3-2 win against Liverpool, someone who we have struggled to beat over recent years. Amazing day out at the Emirates yesterday. I know Clayton's arms are probably hurting from waving a flag with the Ashburton Army that weighed 20, 30 kilos, but how are you? Are you recovering from that? You got sore muscles this morning?
I am bloody sore, and like my voice is all right. I say it's all right. It's a little bit croaky, but this morning, like meetings at work, oh my God, it was so sore. And like I don't know if you can hear, it's still a little bit croaky, but yesterday was just unbelievable. But like I think it was the penalty. It was either the penalty or the second goal that I was saying to you yesterday. My jeans ripped. I got punched in the lip. Like I've got a swollen lip. It's like I, those limbs. I just live for it, and it's like the feeling at this club right now is just unbelievable. And yesterday, it was brilliant. Like you said, we always struggle against Liverpool. Like that, as we think that they've been one of the best teams in the world the last few years, and they were on it yesterday. Like we had to work hard. It was not a walk in the park by any means, but we had to really dig deep, and just so happy with it. Yeah, brilliant day. Sat with the Ashburton Army again. Love them guys, man. They are absolutely brilliant. Yeah, great day. Looking forward to getting into it. How was your day out? The experience? You enjoy it? I saw you posted a few nice videos.
Yes, I'm actually in the process of trying to upload them to our streaming platform in case I can show some of the atmosphere at the Emirates after the game at the statue. Was it the Tony Adams statue? People going mental, dressing him up in a scarf and waving a flag about being the best team in the world. And yeah, people were really in high spirits. For me, it was just amazing, like a week that was rounded off really nicely. Obviously, I went to the North London Derby, went to Bodo, and then went to this game against Liverpool. So just a
Oh
week
yeah,
of three
nice.
wins. Like, yeah, so exciting. And then the other thing that was incredible is obviously, I think this was our sixth league game of the season where we scored 3+ goals,
Oh wow.
which,
Okay.
when you think we've only played 9 games,
Yeah, not bad
that's
at all.
wild. Yeah. Like we used to struggle with goal scoring in the last few years. So that's good. And again, I see another iconic photo, just like the one from the North London Derby
That
with
these
Arteta and the
photos are so,
scoreline.
I don't know if it's Stuart McFarlane that's getting these or like one of the other photographers, but they're so cold. Like I love these ones. So, I mean, like when sometimes the simplicity of them is just what strikes home. Because obviously there were loads of mental celebrations and stuff, but I spotted myself in one of the goals celebrating. Look, I looked a bit of a silly kid in it, but yeah, I spotted myself in one of them.
That's so good. Yeah, no, I think all in all, there was a big shock in the formation as well that we saw, obviously. So I know we'd been debating
Yeah.
Tierney and Zinchenko, but neither played, right?
And what a call that was. So yeah, obviously for anyone listening, yeah, talking about Tomiyasu coming in at left back. So neither Zinchenko. Well, Zinchenko wasn't even in the squad, but Tierney didn't start. And I think once it became clear Zinchenko wasn't playing, I think it's fair to say 99% of all of us were just assuming it would be Tierney. But what a masterstroke that was, and think it was clear, right? It was obviously those diagonals from Van Dijk into Salah. And Tommy aerially is one of the best around, and we saw how comfortable he is with both. It was nothing new, right? It was everything we know about him, but I think it was more a refresher on look, guys, I'm still here. I can perform to the top level that's required, and what a performance to just kind of step in that position and nullify one of the best wide forwards that's been around. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think he didn't really do much wrong. Like I saw some stats after the game about just like I think he won like 7 aerial duels, like 4 duels on the ground. Like he was all over. Like from where I was sitting in the first half, near the North Bank, obviously they were attacking towards us, I think. And what I
Yeah.
noticed was pretty much every ball was like a long ball over the top towards Salah. And it was just Tomiyasu jumping up and heading it back to Martinelli or Xhaka. I've not really seen Liverpool reduced to that style of creation very often. I know their second goal obviously was a bit slicker. It did have a bit more of an air of like nice play, but
Yeah.
like generally speaking, in that game, the fact that Salah got subbed off in the like close to 70th minute for Fabinho, like I don't think I
Oh
could have
mate,
ever seen that coming.
those subs, like the Tottenham game, I kind of was laughing at the nature of those subs. This game, my jaw dropped. I was like, am I missing something? Like I wasn't sure if it was like 4D chess from Klopp and I just wasn't getting it, but because who was it? It was, I've got it here. It was Kanate came on for Matip, and then yeah, Fabinho on for Salah. And yeah, obviously Trent had gone off at half time, the same potential injury. I think it was just Martinelli crucified him, like we spoke about in the preview. Like he absolutely crucified him. That start, oh my god! Like we talk about fast starts. There's fast starts, and then there's that. I was just in disbelief of what was going on. I could not believe it, and yeah, that was such a beautiful move, and I just love that we made it. Like obviously Liverpool did go that 4-2-3-1. It was Thiago Henderson and that double pivot, but like what I loved about that goal, when you obviously I didn't really have a feel for this when in the ground because of how low I was, but when I was rewatching the game and I saw the highlights, the way structurally, like Odegaard's in that pocket and Ben White obviously starts to move, passes it out to Saka. The distances between Odegaard and Saka, they're positioned just right so that if you're a Liverpool defender or midfielder, you don't know who to go to. And like that structure just goes from right to left. It was Saka, then Odegaard. Xhaka was positioned nicely. Odegaard picked it up, like beautiful pass into Martinelli. Like that pass, I don't know if I'm being biased. That is top quality. Like the weight of pass on that, and then once Martinelli was in, it just felt like never in doubt. Yeah, I couldn't believe that start.
I think on that note, quick shout out to some of the guys who've tuned in as well, because we've got
Yeah,
quite
it's
a
nice
nice
to have
little
them all in.
contingent here live already. Yeah, so we've got Christopher Tellez here as well. He's finally managed to be here for the start instead of the middle.
Wonder if he's
Good
still
to see.
hungover from his graduation and the game.
He must be. Yeah, let us know how your weekend of celebrating the graduation was. And then Bobby, stand up if you're top of the league, lads. Mike
Nice one,
Halpin, good to
Bobby.
see you.
All
We've
right,
got
Mike.
all the crew, man. It's going to be good when we get a round table with everyone together in the World
Seeing
Cup, I think.
Glenn and William are in as well, the regulars.
Yeah, good to see Glenn, William as well. What a beautiful Monday. So Christopher, just on the note that you said about how quickly that happened, he says he barely got his stream to work by the time Martinelli had tucked it in. I'm sure there was people still trying to finish their pint who hadn't even got to their
Ian
seat
Wright
yet.
missed it. Do you see he posted on TikTok? He
I
like went
didn't
for
see that.
he went for a piss. He went for a piss at the start of the game, came back, and he was like, "What the hell?"
Incredible, honestly. So from my perspective, there couldn't have been a better start in terms of like how it felt being there. I think it just escalated the energy from the fans to the players. Like we knew we wanted to compete, but I didn't think we could go ahead in sub 60 seconds.
No, me.
And then from there, we looked good. I thought Liverpool were very good for about half an hour in that first half. I
Mate,
do feel
they
that they
were
were holding the
worrying me.
ball. Yeah, like they were holding the ball more than any opposition we faced this season, right? Like they were doing what we do. They were playing a high defensive line. They were trying
Do you want
to
to
kind
switch
of
over to
nick the ball from
the
us.
next slide to talk about this stuff, so then you can
Actually,
kind of
yeah, good,
visual.
good shout. Yeah, so I think just from a lineup perspective, then for any podcast listeners, obviously like it's the same 11 it's been all season except for Tomiyasu at left back. Which before we look at the game, I just want to add one thing there, which is think if you're Klopp and the team, and all week you've been preparing to face one of Zinchenko
That
or
was a
Tierney,
curveball.
and out of nowhere Tomiyasu suddenly plays there, which I'm pretty confident no one at Liverpool's
No.
squad or team had prepared for that.
And the weirdest thing is, like, we have seen that before. Obviously, he came in against Rafinha, but I don't know. I don't know if it was just like the way the season's been going. Tierney had been performing quite well when Zinchenko's not been there. Like, yeah, Arteta, he's tactically top draw, man. Like that. Yeah, hats off to the guy. I love him. Like, I think it's very clear. I love him in a concerning way. But
I love
what a
that.
guy.
So on the stats then, so obviously we've got Mark our
Just
stats
quickly,
spots.
Batchy.
Yeah, go on.
Just go back a sec. This is why, like, obviously, I think we always put the team graphic up just because it's nice to visualize. This is why I fucking hate player ratings by people that probably don't watch the games. How on earth are Ben White and Granit Xhaka a 6.8 and a 6.6? Now, fair enough, the first half we struggled to gain control, but Xhaka in that second half was unbelievable. Ben White all game was quality. Like, yeah, I
You
just
see
had to
Ben
get that
White's
off my chest.
interview when they said, "What did you think about them playing four attackers?" And he goes, "Oh, I didn't notice, to be honest."
Now, did he?
Yeah, he was just really like deadpan. I was just like, "Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really notice."
I saw he did 2 interviews, and I must have watched the other one. But yeah, I love the way he's just deadpan, stone cold Steve Austin. Just like he's emotionless, and I love it. He's genuinely got that like killer vibe about him. Yeah, I really like the guy, but I don't understand those ratings at all.
Yeah, no, that
Really
rating is
don't.
very odd, and I think Xhaka as well. Like, if you actually look at some of our plays in the second half, especially, he was whipping in like 2-3 good crosses. Like he was almost playing as a winger at some points. I felt like I saw him so kind of advanced in the team.
They
But
could not cope with him in that second half. Like his movement and the relationship he's got on that left-hand side, like he he is playing like one of the best central midfielders around. Yeah, that second half was sensational from him, and I think
yeah, I
he
think
was
it was the
one of the
overload,
drive.
right? So he was like
Yeah,
overloading them, like they didn't know what to do. And I think William mentions it here that James from Planet FPL as well. He said that Xhaka had like a more offensive role in the second half, and it just tore
yeah,
Liverpool apart. So
completely agree.
honestly, like I've not seen Liverpool torn apart. I think the one thing that I'm very happy about is I felt like all our goals, they were like we literally tore them apart. They weren't
Yeah,
like lucky goals, fortunate, like we scrapped it. Like we were relentless in our work rate, and I think it was embodied by Jesus more than most. The clatterings he took, like I honestly, I was convinced he was unconscious. Like
I
from where
thought
I
he was
was
knocked
sitting,
out.
yeah, from where
Yeah,
I was sitting, like he looked limp. Like it
yeah,
did not look
and you could see
like
from the reactions. I think it was like Saka and is it Firmino maybe was like proper flagging to the bench. And as an Arsenal fan, like, I
Like
feel like I get
instantly
P.
the medic came on, right? Like it was so quick. Like
Yeah,
it's like something was wrong. And
I
obviously
get
it's not
PTSD when I see that. Like when you think of Eduardo Ramsey, like oh,
mm.
did not have a good feeling in my stomach there. But glad he's all right.
So I don't know how he played on, but it kind of begs to question like some of the concussion protocols. Like we don't know if he was unconscious or not, right? But he
Yeah,
did not look good the way he went down. So yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but the fact that then even after that incident, he then got clattered between Van Dijk and Allison. So it's like just
yeah,
that
forgot
work
about that.
ethic he puts in. Yeah, like the guy's 5'9" or something, 5'10", and just he embodies everything that this team is about, which is like relentless work. So I think honestly, without him, like we couldn't have done what we did on the wings because he was a handful for their defenders. Like if they tried to go and focus on our wings, they knew that he would just be there waiting. I think so let's go back to the stats as you were saying.
Yep. Do you want to read him out?
Yeah, so the cumulative expected goals from this Marker stat, so the cumulative XG was 2.76 for us versus 0.64 for them. Slightly different on stats bomb, so 2.6 for us and 0.8 for them. The expected threats quite similar, it's 1.4 for us
Yep.
to 0.98. Possession wise, this was the first game where we had under 50% possession, I think 43% to 56.
Yeah. And it
So
felt
that's
that way, like
interesting.
I can't remember specifically when it was, but I'm gonna hazard a guess around like the 15th minute onwards in that first. I was like, oh my god! Like I looked up at the screen thinking, oh, is it nearly half time? We need this, and it was like the 30th minute. I was like, Jesus Christ, we still got another 15 minutes of this, and then they obviously went and bloody scored like a couple minutes after that. But yeah, that Liverpool were very, very good in periods in that first half.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt that. People kind of were saying that they'd fallen off, and I think we spoke before the match, and I said, Liverpool have lost one league game in 2022, and that was against
Yeah,
United earlier this season. So, like, they're not some walkover team. At any moment, they've got individual brilliance. Just that front four alone is incredible, right? So I think we really did some special stuff. And then the field tilt. So obviously, this was a bit more even. We were both in each other's final third, so it was 52% to 47%. And then defensive line height. So we were at 49, which is probably one of the more reserved kind of
yeah,
defensive lines we've had. But Liverpool were 33.4, and that's
mate.
apparently like the kind of lowest defensive line height they've had like since
Oh, really?
sometime last season, like 21-22 season.
I
So
was just gonna say, like, I didn't know that, but that does not surprise me because for a team like Liverpool, who consciously play a high line, they're aggressive, they're front-footed. That is like, and that is not. They didn't choose to do that, right? The lazy narratives will be like, oh, Liverpool. Well, I've not seen this to be fair, but people will look at that and think, oh, why didn't Liverpool do it? It was because of us. Like, make no mistake about it. We pinned them back. Like, they didn't choose to go and sit back against us. We are an elite attacking force now, and yeah, that's incredible that we were able to pin them back like that.
did you feel the boys grew in confidence? So what I felt was that at half time, I was like kind of thinking like, okay, let's just get in 1-1. We don't want to be down. To go in the way we did and get the kind of the second goal just before, like that was again like it was a moment of brilliance. I feel like that changed the halftime team talk. So I think they asked
Yeah,
Arteta afterwards, what did you say to them? Did you bollock them and stuff? And he said, no, not really, nothing major. I just said to them like, press your man harder, win your ball, like compete in your duels, like keep doing what you're doing. So I almost
Okay.
feel like they went into that second half believing they could outplay Liverpool. So in the first
Yeah.
half, they were a bit like nervy, maybe. There was, as you say, moments where Liverpool had the ball for a long time. They were pushing us, trying to get into the box. It
I
was
feel
very
like
nerve
this.
wracking.
Yeah, and the state of the game, how I felt, is personally reflected in the expected threat graphic there for me personally. Like I feel like relentless start from us. We were on top of the first, like that start was just electric. Got the early goal. I felt like the first 10 minutes we were doing really well. And then yeah, it's saying there from 15 minutes onward it was quite even, but it just felt like that period between 25 and 45, fuck me, I was not
Yeah, I was
comfortable.
honestly like, my
I
heart
was
was in
not
my hand.
comfortable watching that. I felt like we every time we got the ball in midfield, like we just could not string two or three passes together. And that's what we're brilliant at. Like this season, when we've been under the cosh, we have been good at kind of sucking the life out of teams. We'll just grab the ball. Like it's not quite the 300,000 passes Arteta wants, but we're heading in that direction. But we just could not get going. And my simple head was like, it's Thiago and Henderson in midfield. Like we should be able to overload them and have that numerical dominance, but we just couldn't. And it's got Liverpool, like I said, they're not a bad team overnight, and they showed their class in that period. And do you know what? For once, that second goal for us, it came against the run of play, but ironically,
Oh
so
yeah,
did
no,
Liverpool.
definitely.
Ironically, so did Liverpool's. But like, for once, it was nice that it came for us. Like we were getting our pants pulled down, and I feel like if the first half had to go, if we didn't get that goal, I feel like Liverpool's was not far around the corner. I really don't, but that's the fine margins, right? And you talk about Jesus earlier. How brilliant was he when he picked up the ball on the edge of the box, wiggled it out, and then passed it? Who did he pass it to on the left?
So, so,
Martinelli,
so,
right?
that's- yeah, so that was the thing I was going to say. So, I know Gabriel had a bit of a few shaky moments. But there's been a lot of debate between us and others in group chats, and I think what it's come down to is that Saliba's like the kind of more defensively sound guy, right? Who you have at the back and you rely on. But Gabriel's very aggressive,
He
and I
is, yeah.
think we've this season often on the pod we've talked about like where he's made the odd mistake here and there that are normally in quite big moments, but we've never like kind of accounted for, I guess, what that aggression brings in terms of positive play. And if you think about it, like I almost feel like it was playing on his mind
Yeah,
what had happened, because when I saw like that goal, the second goal from us, I honestly thought it was Gabriel Jesus in the middle of the box who let it go between his legs to Saka to poke in, and like I then saw the number 6 and not the 9, and I was like, is he wearing the shirt upside down? I was like in denial. I was like, there's no way Gabriel Magalhaes is in the box in the center forward
you
position.
pronounce that very impressively. I can't lie. I've never
I've been
given an
trying for a
attempt.
few months. Yeah, Magalhaes, because I was calling like Magalhaes, and like
Yeah,
I've called him all kinds of stuff, but I'm trying to
yeah,
get
I
better
don't
at
bother.
these. Yeah, just got for a while I was calling Gabriel the centre back because I didn't know how to
No,
say
you are right. All I'd say on that is like players. We should be constructively criticizing players, right, for where we want to get to. Like Gabriel is a good defender. He's got his strengths, but he's not exempt from criticism. And like, I think because of how Arsenal Twitter has been the last few years, I feel like if you criticize a player in a constructive way, people automatically think, "Why are you siding against him? Why aren't you getting behind him?" It's like I will be the first man in the stadium cheering behind this guy, but you're allowed to acknowledge that a guy has made a mistake, and I don't get why that's such a touchy subject for some. And like, I agree. Like we called that out. I think it was the Brentford game. You remember, again, fast, bloody, relentless start. We didn't quite score, but you remember that incisive, quick move. I'm pretty sure it was Gabriel that took the ball, drove with it, and he whacked it into either Martinelli or Xhaka. They did the 1-2, and that's all fine. But again, there's positives to it, again, but he has made mistakes. I don't know why we have to kind of beat around the bush. And
it.
unfortunately, this is becoming an issue. And I personally don't get what the issue is in highlighting this. We're not slating him as a guy. We're not slating him as a player. Like he's made mistakes. Like who's my favorite player in the team? Saka. If he makes a mistake, I'm gonna call him out.
Yeah,
And
no, no,
I
you
feel
raise a
like
good point there. No, I think people are too touchy when you bring like constructive criticism. I guess what I would say is like when we're scoring 3 goals in 6 out of 9 league games and winning 8 of them, it's always going to feel like, why are we looking for like the parts that go wrong? But like that's how
see,
you
I
grow
don't
as a
see it
team,
that
right?
way.
But that's what I mean. So that's how you grow as
Yeah,
a team, right? Like you got to look for like where the mistakes are made so you can iron them out. I guess maybe people think by us saying that like we're implying he should just be dropped. Like obviously that's not what I'm saying. Like Arteta's not going to drop a player who's in a team that's won 8 out of 9 league games. The mistakes would have to get pretty bad, and we'd have to be losing games, I think,
See,
for
that's
him to
what
be dropped.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tomiyasu at left centre back. And again,
Like an
it's not
experiment, yeah.
yeah, it's nothing against Gabriel. I just think for where we're heading, there's fine margins, and it's all marginal gains, right? And I'm looking for any area in the team now. Like you need to lose this kind of emotional bias we sometimes have. Like so, Gabriel came in at a really tricky time at Arsenal, right? And he steadied the ship. He's been a solid defender for us.
Like last
Wh-
season, he was arguably like our best defender, you could say, like to some
Yeah,
extent.
and but I don't know how to word this, like, because I've got nothing against the guy. I just can't help but feel there's certain games where we could do better. That's all. Like, and I don't get what the issue is with that. So, like, that goal that Liverpool scored, he should have done better there. Like, what's the excuse there? Like, you have to be clear
Yeah.
in that. And
So I do think
the
so.
Mitrovic one in against Fulham,
That one
you
was
get. I
really sloppy.
I don't like. Maybe I am coming across overly aggressive with it, but I just feel like for where we're trying to head to as a team, there's always room for improvement. There always is, and that is an area where Glenn makes a great point in the chat. Like because of how good Saliba's doing, it's noticeable. And Gabriel is young; he can improve. I don't disagree with any of that, but Gabriel's been making these mistakes for a while. It's not just this season as well. So I I would love. Yeah, I like him as a player. I think he's got a lot of strengths, but I think there's a lot of mistakes in him as well.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree. I guess what I'm thinking about is I always like to look at players' mentality and how they come back from things. And I think this is another point that I think it was here that Christopher says it actually, which is quite a good one, I think, which kind of is in line with my
Yeah,
thinking, which is that he does have a strong mindset. So although
he
these
does.
mistakes
Yeah,
do happen, we regularly seem to say that he then grows into the second half. So it's like the mistake does happen. It does happen often, but he doesn't let it dictate the rest of the match. Whereas when we had like Mustafi and these guys, Socrates, like once the mistake
yeah,
happened, the whole team's heads dropped, not just those players. It's like we were unable to shake it off. And even last season, right, we'd lose a game and then we'd go on runs of losing 3 games. So I feel like we've shaken that off a bit, which is good. I guess
yeah.
on the other side, the one thing I will say about Gabriel is I know Saliba's very young, but I almost feel like Saliba, when we signed him, he was being touted as like the Mbappe of centre backs in terms of raw ceiling. So I do feel that he's doing so well that it is more noticeable, as they're saying in the chat, that when Gabriel makes these mistakes. But we've got to remember that just because Saliba's young and at that level doesn't mean that Gabriel's not also young. So I know he's 24, but for a centre back, that is
Yeah.
very young still. So I feel like when we look at, say, like Van Dijk now, who's been talked about as like the best centre back in the league
Mate,
for
Van Dijk
years.
was at bloody Groningen when he was that age. So like,
That's what I
yeah,
mean.
it's
He'd just been coming to Celtic. Like, so I feel
yeah,
like we've also got to just think that, you know what? It's not the end of the world. Like, this is a team that's growing together. We've talked about how Saka and Martinelli keep getting better and keep improving and growing. I'd like to think that Gabriel, if he did get some time out of the limelight, I'd almost feel like his mentality is strong enough where he'd come back from that adversity and be like, I want to fight for my space back. I'm going to try get back into the team. So I think this is healthy competition. The fact that we can have these debates in
yeah,
previous
exactly.
seasons, like, the debate was if you don't play Gabriel or White, it's like you play Rob Holding. So it's like,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's a much worse situation to be in than now. Now we're like nitpicking a 3-goal win against Liverpool for the first time in years. And we're able to look at like, okay, what was the weakest link this week? And it's quite refreshing that our weakest problem, like our biggest problem is like, oh, one of our centre backs is sometimes making mistakes. It's like before, like our entire team
I
was
know.
dysfunctional. So I feel like we're in a much better place as a club and a squad. Do you want to look at the
100%.
passing networks, by the way? Because
Yeah, just quickly, just to
yeah,
add
go
to
on.
that, what you say about like him being out of the limelight and what, like, just look at Tierney, right? Like, he had a couple of games. Well, obviously Zinchenko came in, did really well. Tierney had time out of the team, came back in. He struggled a little bit against. I think it was. I always forget this game. I think it might have been Fulham, and then he slowly started doing well again and stuff. Like, I just think we've got really good depth. I think you'd be silly not to use it. And like, if Arsenal fans are afraid to critique players, like, what do you think our coaching staff are doing? Like, they're going to be discussing this. I think it's healthy to be discussing these things. I don't think we should shy away from it. I think as long as you're doing it in a positive way, that you want a positive influence on the team, and it's not personal attack like we've seen over the last few years, I think that's more than fine. I really do. And just to prove my point on like why it's not a personal thing, I thought Saliba for the second goal was a little bit uh suspect with his positioning. I thought he stepped up a bit too quickly. And again, that's nothing against him. It's just that's what you do when you analyze, right? You look out for mistakes. You see how can we improve on that. That's all.
So I think on that note, there's a really good point. I think Clive made it on Arsenal Vision,
Okay.
or Elliot, or one of the two of them, and they were basically saying that the way Liverpool sets up was really difficult for us to decide where our defensive line should be. So like they always seem to have an attacker offside. And when you look at like that
Okay.
second goal where Gabriel did make the mistake, he like Nunes was offside, but like he wouldn't know that.
Do
So
you mean the first goal or the?
or maybe it was the first goal actually. So it was the
Okay.
one where Gabriel tried to clear it out the box and
Yeah, that was the
yeah.
first
So
one.
first goal, sorry, yeah, because the second goal was a really nice Firmino goal. You're right. So
Yeah, what a
so
finish that was, bloody.
that was a great finish. So forgotten hero there. So yeah, like what happened was obviously like Gabriel's gone in and tried to clear the ball, and it's bounced, and then he's like kicked it, and they were saying it's kind of unlucky because if it went anywhere but where it went, it would have been fine. But the way
Yeah.
it went, it then got played into their path, and they were able to score. Now the problem is, I don't know, like was he only playing that ball because he was trying to prevent Nunes from getting it, who was offside? So it's kind of like, where do you draw the line, right? Like in terms of
I don't
phases of
know.
play.
I
I'm not.
agree, but
I'm not
I
saying it was
also
offside, but I mean, as
no,
in
no,
that
no.
that's what Liverpool
I know
did
what you
all
mean.
game. But I mean, they did
Yeah.
that all game. So like our defensive line. So that's why Saliba as well in his moment, as you say. I feel like
Yeah.
as a back four, if you noticed, we didn't actually play like with the two fullbacks kind of sitting in the CM role. They weren't really inverted fullbacks. It was like a flat back line this time.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we basically played our four best 1v1 defenders.
Yeah.
And we
Absolutely.
just tried to like have them there because we knew they've got four attackers. It's going to be tough after we sort of line up against Rangers. They've built a game plan for us. And with the way there was always one attacker offside, it's like, okay, like way offside, but if they pass to the guy who's not offside, he can then pass to the guy who was offside before, but now he's no longer offside. So it's like, where do you stand? What do? Do you keep playing him offside? Do you go back? Do you? So I feel like they really like tested our mindset and our abilities because no one's done that to us this season. Honestly, like
No,
they played us in a way that no one has. So I just feel like yes, there
absolutely.
was
Yeah.
mistakes from both of them, but I can understand it because Liverpool are a very good team.
Yeah, and again, like Liverpool tactically, Klopp is one of the best in the world, right? Like they clearly worked on that, and it did cause us issues. And yeah, it's nothing to be concerned about, but it's also just something you have to do if you're looking at where the goals came from and stuff. And I feel like the Gabriel thing, for me, I get if he makes contact, it goes anywhere else. But for me, the point is he didn't make contact. And why didn't he make it? Because his positioning was all over the place. Like you don't take a
Yeah.
ball flying over your shoulder. Like Van Persie can do that if he's trying to volley it in the net. Like you don't, I just feel like that's defensive positioning. And the Saliba thing, I totally get it. Like that is you've got like a 0.01 second decision to make, and he stepped at the wrong time. But it's fine margins. Nothing to
It
be
is.
concerned about. Just
It is.
critiquing where the
So in
goals came
terms of the
from.
passing network, so I think what I love to see here, right, is the two triangles on both wings are incredible. So like you've got the attackers, you've got Jesus on the left with Martinelli and Xhaka.
Uh,
But then
I
on the
always say
right,
our
you've got
structure
Odegaard,
is
Saka, and
elite.
White.
Yep.
It honestly is. And like the reason I was so impressed by this game is White. Just the amount of times I saw him and Saka linking up, and like there was times when it was White who was driving into the box because Saka would lay it off to him. And you know, at the
Yeah.
start of the season, we were not seeing these overlapping runs from White. So he has
No.
just constantly been improving his game at right back. And like I think it's just going unnoticed, like outside of the Arsenal circles. But Ben White has been quietly putting in like week after week incredible performances at right back, and he's now
He's
able
been
to
the
kind of
best
do
right
the
back in the
overlapping
league.
runs. Yeah,
He
no,
has
I
been the
would go
best
as far
right
as say
back in the league
he's
this year.
definitely been like top draw. So just to see this kind of triangle and to see that he was up there and so core to our attack, and obviously we saw what happened with the goal against Spurs as well, where him and Saka laid it off, and then they gave it to Partey. So like
Yep.
we're seeing Ben White in and around the box a lot more than I was ever expecting, and for him to be doing that in a new position and so quickly adapting to it and keeping Tomiyasu, who had probably one of the best defensive displays yesterday after even starting for God knows how long. he's been keeping Tomiyasu out, and that's the biggest compliment you said we can give White, which I think is spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, nothing more to
What do
add
you
on
think
that, really.
about Liverpool then? So is there anything on Liverpool's passing network? I guess the one thing I do want to say is so forget Trent. I know Martinelli cooked him and Gomez both, but with
Yeah,
Tsimikas,
also, like, that's the thing. He cooked Gomez as well, right? Like,
yeah, he
they,
just like they couldn't handle him.
no, he was unbelievable. And I think that's like I said in the preview pod, right? Like, everyone was focusing on this 4-2-3-1 and like how their right back, who was Trent, was more reserved. And I just thought Martinelli 1v1, he would cook Trent still. Like, it doesn't matter whether Trent's high or back. Like, Trent is not a good 1v1 defender. He's got fantastic attributes, like, but you need to protect him. And you could see with the first goal, I know we covered the first goal, but Trent was like isolated. Like, that's a big mistake from their midfield. Salah should have been tracking back a bit more, but yeah, and the way we isolate players is all a result of our structure. Like, the spacing that we give so many headaches to opposition teams, and it's incredible. And just like Liverpool's passing map, it's so clear to see that they were trying to bunch high and wide on the right hand side, but it was just nullified all of the time. And then look at the gaps in the central areas, and that's where I feel like the second half we really hurt them. Like, we dominated and controlled those central areas, and then we were like spread our play all throughout like the wide areas, and it was just incredible to watch.
So I think it
That
was the
second
two
half,
wing side of it. That was the thing I loved. It was
yeah,
the fact that when you're coming from one wing, a team can try and stop you. But when both wings are as productive as both our wings have been, especially in this game, eventually you find a way through. And like you just can't stop that. You can't account for that. And here we can obviously see Nunes had 11 passes in the game.
his movement
Jesus is
is
21, right?
incredible. Like, I hadn't quite clocked it, and I feel like I always notice things in person rather than when I'm watching on TV. Like, Nunes is, I think technically, like his technical ability, I think he's a donkey, but his movement is absolutely top class. And like, I always talk about probability. I think he will get himself into so many goal scoring opportunities, just by how clever his movement is. I think he'll do
Yeah, no, I
better
think
than the
he's a
first.
great young player. Like he can do a lot better going forwards. Obviously the celebration with the crying eyes doesn't really
Yeah,
stack
what a
up when you
prat!
lose the game. Yeah, so I'm going to be using that photo for a while. I guess just the one I want to say on Simicast. So I don't know if you felt this, but obviously I know we got a penalty in our favor. But outside of that, I felt like every time we touched them, there was a foul given, and we were getting just like physically bodied everywhere. Like I'm sure Simicast, like there was 3-4 challenges that I felt warranted a yellow, and half the time it wasn't even that the foul was given. The ref just waved the game on. He was like, no, no foul, no foul, no foul every time. And I was like, I don't know. Like people around me were starting to
I
get
felt that way
agitated
as
in the
well.
crowd.
Yeah, I really felt that way. And I'm always conscious. I probably do have like a huge element of bias. Like, when it's in your home ground, you're emotional, but it did definitely feel that way. And like, do you see when he like smacked Jesus on the face? And
I was gonna say, so I rewatched a different angle of that, and it looked pretty coordinated and malicious to me. Like it didn't look like some accident. Like so,
yeah,
and that
and
was after
like,
he should have already potentially been on a few yellows.
yeah, and this is where, so for me, like, I feel like when people talk about refereeing, it's like, oh, there's this big like conspiracy theory. It's not that. It's like, the biggest example I use to make my point is that Man City game at home on New Year's. I think it was New Year's Day, where we did really well. I was pissed off with the referee in that game, but not for the big decisions. All of my opinions on that were really unpopular amongst Arsenal fans, but I thought the big decisions, apart from the Odegaard penalty, was fine. For me, it's the small 50-50s that don't go your way. It's the 70-30s that they should get a yellow and don't. I think people really underestimate how much influence that has on the flow of a game. And that's how I felt it was going yesterday as well. Felt like these small decisions that accumulate just were not, like, you can't just keep the game flow. I know it's beautiful. We want to see a game flowing. We don't want to see stop, but there becomes a point where it becomes ridiculous. And Anthony Taylor is like the god for that. He's a bloody moron. Like, and that's how I felt yesterday. Every little thing they were getting away with. But we overcame it, right? And that's all that matters in the end. But I
What do you feel
completely
about the
agree with you.
Gabriel incident? So, I've watched a few new angles of it, and like I can say definitively, it hits his chest first before his hand. In fact, his eyes are closed when the ball hits him, and his hand is in some weird way. Like I don't know, like how that's unnatural. He's basically like trying to jump, and he's like closed his eye, and like he's got his hand in some weird claw shape. And I'm like, yeah, that like I don't understand. If you're trying to stop a ball, you wouldn't be doing like this with your hand. Like you'd be trying to hit it out the way. So obviously, we have seen a few penalties this season given for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think
especially
that
this
goes back to
weekend, there
what
was a
you
lot
said,
of
right?
inconsistency this weekend.
That's
Like,
exactly what I'm getting at. So I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just think the inconsistency of the applications of the rules is what drives people insane. It's like we've always felt like we're on the, like the media and the refs are after us and all that. And that's probably a conspiracy. I do just think they're incompetent. And I say this
yeah,
every week.
that's
Like,
it. Yeah,
they're
that's
just
it.
incompetent, honestly.
Yeah, they're just incompetent, isn't that? Like, they have not got a bias against any bloody club. Like, do you know how ridiculous that is? But the
They're
incompetence,
professionals, yeah.
yeah, like the incompetence is just scary. And I don't think that was a penalty. Like, I think the rule was correctly enforced. Sorry, I should clarify. Talking about the potential handball against Gabriel, I don't
Yeah.
think that is a penalty because of, like, if you see the rules, I think, what is it, the proximity and the speed or something, right? I think he probably could have, like, I noticed that Eric Dyer does this a lot when he's defending crosses. He'll go and, like, kind of keep his arms by his side. Like, he could do that, but that is so unnatural to do.
So I
And
think
it
that's
did
only
hit his
so I
chest
think that
first.
is unnatural, right? So people are saying like you should defend with your hands behind your back, but that's only been happening because the laws are so inconsistently applied.
Yeah,
Defenders have started doing that because they don't know what the rules are anymore.
exactly. So
I
no,
think
I don't think it's a penalty, but I can't think of the examples. There were a couple this weekend I saw, which, yeah, it's the inconsistency again, right? And yeah,
if they were always given or always not given, then there wouldn't be as much of an uproar. Obviously, there was a lot of Liverpool fans crying about it, as William
and do you
saying
know
on the
what?
timeline.
Yeah, fuck them, man. The amount of Mane dirty, like, elbows that we faced
I
over the
remember like one of our players got like elbowed in the face by Mane. I've seen people get
yeah, like,
stamped on their face with boots. Like
fuck them, man.
these players wouldn't even get yellow cards when they did this to us. It's like, you know what? Like whatever we think, whether we should have had our penalty or not, whether they should have had theirs or not, like people always tried to tell us when it went against us that it evens out over the long term. So how about they just accept that L and move on and accept that it will even out if that's what they truly believe? Because when it was going against us, they told us stop complaining. It
Yeah,
will
for
even
real.
out. So they should shut the fuck up and wait for it to even out for their god teams. So one other thing is deliberate active handball was introduced last season. I think that's a
Mhm.
key component of this for me. So they essentially said that is interpreting what is a deliberate act of handball. So I've got the rule here, and it says referees will now look for a deliberate action on behalf of the player with an emphasis on whether the hand or arm is in a natural position or not. So I think the idea that, Gabriel was jumping with his eyes shut, and like he's just got his hand up while he jumps, like it hits his chest. Even if it didn't hit his chest, from what I understand, the fact that it wasn't deliberate and the proximity, as you say,
Yeah, it wasn't
what's he meant to
deliberate
do?
at
Like
all.
cut his
Yeah.
arms off? Like I don't understand. And do you remember
No.
the one where we didn't get the penalty because of proximity when
Which
the
one, man? There's
Wolves
been
defender
loads.
had his
Yeah.
arm out like this, which you told me that's natural while standing still, like literally an arm straight out
It
horizontally.
happened
Pepe
at
kicked
Burnley as
it.
well.
Yeah, Pepe
Yeah.
kicked it and went straight up into his arm, and they were like, "No, it wasn't deliberate. It was too close." So like we've seen them in the past not given. So I'll move on from there. How about the territories of control then? So obviously this looks quite different in the sense that when we were
I
out of possession, like you can
look
see
at
that.
Liverpool out of possession versus Arsenal. Like, that explains it all, right? Like, this team and the way we are relentless
We
in the
just
way we
outworked
will
them, right? Like
yeah.
they were done. Like I think last year, what we noticed, you said that we actually started quite well against Liverpool last time at the Emirates, and we did. And I think the difference was we were knackered. We couldn't
Yeah.
we couldn't
We
keep it
couldn't
up.
sustain it, no.
Whereas this time it felt like we were fitter than them on the day,
Yeah.
and we outplayed them with that kind of that. That's what I was saying about Jesus. His work rate and the way he led that line, it's contagious. The rest
Yeah.
of the team feel like if he's doing that and he's a full-time Premier League winner, like what excuse do I have to not do that too?
I
So,
think
so I
it's
think
a
that's the thing.
combination of fitness, but it's our structures. Our structures on the pitch allow us to maximize your bursts and your sprints, because the example I always use is Granit Xhaka in previous systems. When he was having to cover fucking 40, 50 yards, of course anyone would be exposed, and you can't be efficient in the way you run. Our players have got specific zones that they operate, and they can maximize their energy in those bursts. So I think it's this, like, obviously, yeah, we're a very fit team, right? We're young, we're athletic, but the structures on the pitch, in my opinion, is what enables us to absolutely maximize everything technically, tactically, and just physically as well. And yeah, it was just incredible to see. And you're doing this against, if you are asked a question over the last few years, who are like the best pressing football team in the world, you'd say Liverpool, right? Look
Yeah.
at that. It's night and day. And like, I know there's context, like they've got an aging squad. They went the distance in all comps last year. But these teams that, like I said, everyone was kind of writing them off before the game, right? These top world-class teams, they can turn it on in one game. And I said, like, big games are different. I can't tell you why, but they are different, these big games. And they found it again. They found it within themselves, but it just wasn't enough. Because we're like, I forgot who tweeted this. It was a beautiful tweet. It was like a passing of the torch moment. Like, Liverpool, I think, I don't think they're quite on a rapid decline like everyone's making out, but I feel like they're heading slowly down and we're like really on our way up. And this game felt like a bit of a statement where it was like, yeah, we've arrived. Like, we wanted it to be at Old Trafford, but do you know what? One better. We've done it against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, I think the fact that we went toe to toe with them in a game like this and had enough to go and get the winner. Like, I think Klopp's substitutions said it all. Like, he could tell that a third goal was going to come potentially, and he took off Salah, who'd been ineffective mainly
Yeah.
thanks to Tomiyasu. Like, I almost felt like Salah didn't play. So, like, subbing him off didn't change anything. They brought on Fabinho, they brought on fresh legs in Konate as well. They had Gomez, so they had like a new DM and three new defenders almost. So
I know.
it's just, and even with that, I felt like that almost got us more raring to go, because we were like, okay, like, this is the second big team that's come here in terms of Spurs came the week before, and both times the managers at 70 minutes have made subs to just like
I think
essentially like concede the match.
for me, it wasn't a case of getting us more raring to go. It was a case of us maturing and smelling blood. Like, they're here to be killed now. Like, we can fucking go for this. And yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And just quickly, one thing we probably haven't mentioned, the third goal, obviously the penalty. Do you think it was a pen? Any doubt? Or
Yeah, so for me, like, just the amount of times I said in that game that we were getting fouled without even being called, let alone yellow cards being given up for the 3-4 times Simicast was fouling people and elbowing them in the face. It was due. Like, if there was anything ever due, it was them finally not getting away with a foul. Like, yeah, some people saying it was soft. I couldn't care less. Like,
yeah,
we've had
I
so
think
many,
it
like,
was soft, to be fair, but
but
I
do you,
think
do
it
you
is a
remember?
foul.
But do you remember like the Xhaka red card against Wolves because he was behind the Wolves defender, and the Wolves defender lifted his
Oh
back
yeah,
leg and kicked into Xhaka's knee, and then Xhaka got a red and a penalty. What happened to double jeopardy? I thought you can't
yeah.
get a red and also give a pen because the pen's already something bad. So, like, honestly, like, so for me, it's like these things have happened to us so many times. Like, I could not
Yeah,
care less if it happened to
I
them.
think it, I think it was soft, but it was a penalty. So yeah, it was a
But it
penalty,
was
right? I'm
coming,
not
right?
sure.
Like, we were turning the screws. I think
That's
that
the thing. Like, yeah,
like we were
regardless,
constantly bombarding them. Like, something was going
yeah,
to come.
yeah, that's what it like. Regardless of whether we got the penalty, right, it was coming. Like, there are games where you just like how I felt in the first half with Liverpool potentially knocking and scoring. It was coming for us. Like that. That was relent. Like that. I think it was like the 75th minute onwards. That was like a mature elite footballing performance, the way we controlled that. And you spoke about it, right? You wanted to see us learn from Old Trafford. Boy, have we learned already. Like,
There's
we
a quick turnaround, yeah.
yeah.
Just a
And
few
just
weeks.
so happy with how Saka put that away as well, because obviously there was all the commotion before it. Van Dijk was trying to knock it out of his hand like a wally, and he was just like, yeah, fuck you. Like,
Yeah,
easy.
in that moment, I just could not bear to watch it. And on that note,
I
actually,
felt
something I do want to
sick.
show is I want to show this. So I've uploaded a couple clips now, and I'm going to play if I can find it. I think that one is the only one I didn't upload, of course. I'm just looking for it, so I'm gonna upload that one as well in the background. But I actually have the clip of the penalty as well, so I'm gonna get that and find it. But in the meantime, let me just quickly show you. So this was outside the stadium. I left the stadium, and this was like there's a couple of 10-second videos I'm gonna show the viewers. I have not seen the fans so infused. Honestly, just have a little watch, guys, and let me know what you think. So yeah, so this was the start of it. Then it began Scousers get battered everywhere they go was the next song.
Did you see the clip of the Ashburton Army doing the march to the ground, like through the tunnel through Finsbury Park? Like, that looked absolutely. I wasn't there for it because obviously I was in the ground and I was doing the waving of the flag. But that obviously it's Liverpool's kind of LA song, but the lyrics just work so nicely. Like that. Oh yeah. The atmosphere has been like this for a while at the Emirates.
Yeah, they were singing the LA, and they were like, we won the league at Anfield, and then they were just thinking all about it. Oh wait, let me just show you a couple more of these. Only like 10 seconds.
Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go.
So yeah, people honestly, we're just going to laugh, and it's the last one, I promise. As they say, top of the fucking league. Like it was just the atmosphere was honestly, I enjoyed it so much. I'm gonna try and get the penalty clip for when we do the preview pod later in the week. For the next match for Leeds away, because it's quite a long one.
I don't know how you feel. Like I can barely.
In some ways, it was easier to film it because I was like watching it through the phone. But then, as he was about to take it, I was like, you know what, I need to look up. And
I felt sick.
Did you see Ramsdale? He had like his face in his hands on your side of the pitch, I think it was, and he was waiting for the crowd to know what happened. Like he did not want to watch that penalty.
Oh man, yeah, the vibe at the club is just insane right now, and rightly so. Just enjoying it.
Let me just play this one. So I think this may have been at full time. So this is, I think they were singing the Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka song. Maybe I can't quite tell. It's 11 seconds. It looks like it's at full time. Let's see. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, so like I stayed in. I normally leave like 1 or 2 minutes before to try and get to the train, but I got caught in the congestion and obviously in that mosh pit outside the stadium too. But I was just watching the players go around, clapping the fans. It just felt like constantly like the energy we gave that team, the belief we gave them, and the support. It's not been like that in years past.
Not at all. We didn't even talk about it. Like when we conceded, that atmosphere, like, okay, everyone's a little bit gutted for it's literally a second, and then it's bang, the roar, and like
the roar and the clapping. Like it happened against Spurs as well. It happened both goals.
It's happened Liverpool. In every game we've conceded. Saliba's own goal. Who was that? Was that Leicester? Maybe. Like same thing. Everyone's like everyone's in a state of shock for like a second, and then it's boom, get back in there, get behind the boys, and like, this is phenomenal. The support right now, it's the best I've seen comfortably for a long time.
Yeah, no,
and like, we have got big statement. I was gonna say the best support. We've got the top 3 support in the league comfortably. I think Newcastle is up there. I'm struggling to think of a third one. So okay, we've got top 2 support in the league, and like anyone that tells you that it's still alive, because it used to be a library, I will not like. I'll be the first to hold my hand. I used to hate the atmosphere at the Arsenal. Like it is not like that anymore. These people are just living in cuckoo land and just can't accept the reality of what is in front of them. If you go to the game, if you listen on the radio, if you watch on TV, this is the top 2 atmospheres in the league. The Emirates is the fortress and the cauldron. I said in pre-season it would be, and like it's coming to fruition. Like it is unbelievable. No one wants to come and play us here. I'm telling you, no one.
No, I totally agree. So Arteta talked about making it a fortress, and it's really starting to feel like that. Obviously, he says the support from the fans is so pivotal to that and so important. I think just overall, as you say, I was talking to a Newcastle fan at work, and I mentioned to him I went to the match and like how great the atmosphere was, and I was so privileged to be there and get bang for my puck with 5 goals in a very entertaining match. And he was like, "Oh, like Arsenal's not really known for the atmosphere." And I was like, "Maybe
Mate,
years ago, mate. Like,
people like that. That's what I mean. Like, there's so many ignorant people.
yeah, no, I agree." So there's quite a few comments I've starred in the live chat that I think will be good to discuss. So we'll go to like
Just
the viewers' comments after.
quickly, I forgot. I got the score prediction finally.
Oh, you do?
My
Yeah.
second
3-2.
one, I got 3-2. Mike also got 3-2. We were messaging earlier. But yeah, I'm coming for you on that leaderboard. I forgot
Yeah,
to
that
put the
is
screenshot
worrying.
in this one. We'll talk about that on the preview.
Yeah, we will. Damn, you're catching up. I went for the 3-1. I think I was a bit too ambitious there. But yeah, so in terms of any of the podcast listeners, if you're not in the mini league already, the code is AV2ZQR for FPL. So get involved. I think when we don't have a fixture in Game Week 12, we're both wildcarding into Game Week 13. So we may discuss about like the best Arsenal assets to own for those wildcarding, for those who are not wildcarding. Obviously, there's a big blank for Man City and Arsenal in Game Week 12. So
And our
I
fixtures
feel
after 13 are
that's the
nice.
thing. The fixtures are nice
Yeah.
for both teams. So I feel like realistically, you probably want 3 from each team. And it's going to be a big debate because I had a look at some of Saka's numbers. And at the start of the season, Martinelli was kind of the better pick. And at the moment, they're both pulling up trees. So I don't think it looks as kind of weighted towards just Martinelli as it did. And that idea of kind of your triple attack that you went in on early, that could well and truly be back alive.
It's back on. It never left, to be fair. But
that's true. Yeah, it never left.
Just quickly, we've got a new leader, top of the league on our.
Oh yeah.
In our mini league, so it's Brian Christensen. He's taken over from Kevin Scott. So Kevin, he's been top for a couple of weeks now, but there's not much in it. There's only 3 points. So Brian leading the way, and then 3 points behind is Kevin Scott. And I've just seen actually because I remember William, Mike, they were all chatting about where they were before
and stuff.
Yeah, so William's 4th, Deachin, our friend, is 5th, Mike Halpin 6th. So yeah, really close.
Damn, so a lot of the viewers are actually up there in the top 5, top 10. That's pretty good. William saying just on the FPL note, he sold Saka for Madison, but he could not give less of a fuck.
He took one for the team. We needed that. We needed that transfer to happen.
I've always said, like, I don't like if my FPL team tanks, as long as Arsenal win and our rivals drop points, I'm very happy. And on that note, to be 14 points ahead of Liverpool at this part of the season, that is insane. Like, you told anyone that before the season begun, and you would have been put into a mental asylum, honestly. So let's take some of these questions in the live chat that I've started before we go. So some of these are just comments that I just want to relive. So like how many Liverpool fans, crying over VAR from Mike Halpin. Quick shout out to, I think it's Josh here as well.
Oh, you're right, Josh. Yeah, so Josh is hopefully going to be joining us for your FPL meets on the 12th of November.
Yeah, that'll be great. There's 8 matches that day, and Arsenal with a late kickoff, right?
And yeah, exactly. And I saw Josh as I was leaving the Gunners on yesterday. I saw Josh in there, so yeah,
nice. And then Glenn as well. Emirates was rocking. Christopher,
we need to meet with Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn, you need to come and see us one of these games. And I think what we'll do is which games am I going to? I went to Forest. Thursday night, the Europa League.
You're going to Zurich and Forest, I think, right?
Yeah, I think Zurich's probably like not one that I'm looking to go to a pub after. But after Forest, I'm down to meet up at the Gunners pub. We got Christopher Tellers as well. Honestly, best weekend I've had all year.
Oh, amazing.
That, please. Mike Halpin, Carragher, and Keane heaping praise on us on Monday Night Football. I need to check that out.
I need to rewatch that.
I need to see what they're saying. What else have we got? So Josh as well. I'm glad now knowing the score that we got pushed hard. We'll need to face up to these big teams, go toe to toe, and come out on top. This win will be so big mentally.
That's exactly it. When people were asking, would we take a draw pre-kickoff? It was like no, because we wanted to see what this team was made of, and yeah, like Josh has nailed that there, like absolutely. And yeah, I feel like this will be a huge moment for this team, and yeah, let's one game at a time until Christmas. But yeah, completely agree.
Then so I love this one as well. So Christopher, half surprised Klopp didn't try to sign Martinelli.
He was proper schmoozing him at full time though. I could see it from my seat. He loves
He's
him. He
been
bloody loves him.
he's loved him for years, right? Called him a talent of a century.
Yeah.
William Frick. So this was I think this was when Jesus went down. We were talking about how it looked like he was kind of
Oh,
unconscious almost. So yeah, because I guess he said he didn't see the contact on TV. It almost felt like an Ericsson situation, like he just dropped. Like he honestly looked limp. Yeah, I think I agree with William about feeling physically sick because I was quite close to it, and I was looking at it and I was honestly very worried. Like in my mind, I was like, he doesn't look like he's actually moving. Like his legs look
he
limp.
looked
Like
fucked. Yeah.
yeah, so I
Wasn't
don't know
good.
what happened then. I don't know how he was allowed to play on, but yeah, I hope he's okay, and I hope they're looking into what happened there. Glenn, it's such a good sign. We've done well in these big games. Our next challenge is away versus Chelsea. Imagine the scenes if we get another win there. I think if we can do that,
That
as
would be
well,
massive.
wow,
Yeah.
that'd be massive. We've talked about the Saliba and Gabriel. So from William, do you guys think a left centre back signing is coming within the next year?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
We tried for one. It was over in the summer or the January before. But yeah, 1,000,000%. I think. I don't think it will happen in January, but I think next summer, absolutely. I couldn't tell you who it would be.
Yeah, I think next summer. And then on that note, and there's quite an interesting one, is probably we discuss it at the roundtable in more detail and get some analysis done as well on which players on loan have been doing what.
Yeah, Trusty scored. I saw he scored
2 goals
twice. Yeah,
and kept a clean sheet. Yeah, he's obviously a defender, and he got 2 goals in that win.
yeah, fair play. I've not really been seeing. I've not really watched him, but I've been keeping an eye. I follow a Twitter account. I forgot what their name is, but they kind of summarize how everyone on loan's getting on, and his performances have been brilliant. And I could potentially see a world where, like, Trusty comes back as Rob Holding's replacement in the squad.
Yeah, so I feel
Maybe,
like
I
when
don't
people
know.
talk about us signing a left centre back, I don't think we're signing a Gabriel replacement. I think it will be a Rob Holding replacement that we're getting. So
I
whether that's
disagree.
buying one,
Uh,
I don't know. I
not
just
not
feel
like
like there's
immediately. I think the long. So you know,
like in a
I
few
always talk.
years maybe
No, I could see it next
next
summer.
summer.
Yeah, I really can. I think the way I talk about. So if you look at the left back situation, right? We didn't need to go out of our way to upgrade Tierney, but we did, and look at the impact that has. I feel like to keep improving this team, that's what you do. What Liverpool have done, you cherry pick those areas, and I think there's been, regardless of my opinion, Arteta has tried to sign. Was it Klosterman? I want to say. And like I know Martinez was being touted to come at like inverted left back, but Gabriel is an area where no doubt he will improve as a player, but we can afford to go and get someone that can come in as a ready-made starter, and that they will take it up a level. I guarantee you that area can be upgraded. So I would, obviously that's just my opinion. I may be well off, but I feel quite strongly on that.
Yeah, I feel like we're still looking for a winger. We're still looking for a centre mid, a party backup, maybe even a long-term replacement, really, with the way he has been fitness-wise. I think we saw recently he's not actually managed to string together a run of 10 games. So that's not great after nearly 3 seasons.
No.
So yeah, we'll keep an eye on him as well. But I definitely do think some of these guys on loan, like Balogun, he's in Ligue 1's like top scorers list already on the Golden Boot race with the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. There's some big players out there in Ligue 1. He's doing very well on loan, and sounds like we want to loan him another season after that. So like they really, I think Arteta told him he wants him to play adult men's football in a men's dressing room environment and grow up in there. And he's come back and said, this is what Arteta told me. And it looks like it's paying dividends in terms of his development. So again, like I don't see it being unusual that maybe in a few years, if Balogun lives up to his potential, he could also come back and maybe like, I don't want to say this would happen, but I could see a world in which Nketiah ends up being sold for quite a lot of money and Balogun ends up being the one who becomes the backup to Jesus, because Eddie's very good and he's getting much better. And
he's very
I don't know if
unlucky that he's
but that's
not,
what I mean. Like, I don't know if he's going to want to long term be that kind of bench option. Like, so there might come a time in his career where we think, you know what, we don't want to keep someone who wants to go. He's not getting the amount of football he deserves. And we've now cooked Balogun over the few years and he's ready to come as that backup and he's more willing to be that backup. So that's just
worry
one
about that when it, because like, I think
that's years away. Yeah.
Arteta, I think, is managing the minutes very well. And Nketiah is guaranteed basically the cup competitions right now. I think in games like Forest at home, he'll probably come on earlier than he's been doing so in the Premier League at the moment. So yeah, I
he
think
looked very
Arteta's
good.
done.
Like in the early parts of the season when he came on, he changed the game. Like
He's looked
he's
great,
definitely like his pressing was something I didn't think he had in him. Like I saw him as more of a fox in the box. I didn't think he could
But
do the
his
hold up
hold-up
play.
play, his link-up plays got better.
He's definitely
He's
improved a
doing
lot.
he's doing very, very
You're
well.
right. He's unlucky. I think he would start as a centre forward for like half of the Premier League teams. He
Agreed.
is that good. I definitely
Hey,
think so.
so many teams missed the trick. Like,
Yeah,
I say that I don't think many of us saw.
I think
him
we did
develop into
everything we
this
could
level.
to keep him as well, though. Like obviously he was
Yeah.
going to go on a free, and we did everything we could to keep him. And
Yeah.
just this last one from William before we go on the hour mark. So I don't think it's negative. I think it is worth discussing, which is obviously that he'd not seen a team dominate us at the Emirates like Liverpool did from 15th to 45th
Yeah,
minute, and that
exactly.
they're still an exceptional team. So I don't think that's negative at all. I think it kind of shows that, like, despite that, we weathered the storm, and in the second half, we've played like we felt like we knew we could win. So, you know, that's a huge mentality upgrade from previous
Yep.
seasons. Like, normally under that kind of spell of being bombarded, I remember once they scored the second goal, straight after that as well, I think it was, I honestly thought they were going to get a third. Like, they're just very quick. Like, it's the same thing with the first goal. It's like they come in
Wait,
bunches.
you thought they were going to get a third?
No, so I'm thinking this first and second goal. So after they scored the first, before we
I think
scored
it was the
second one to
first,
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's in that same period of their domination, right? So literally 2-3 minutes after their first goal, I was like, oh God, they're in again behind. So it's like they were just constantly coming.
Yeah,
They were looking for blood in that moment.
That's what that goal that we got. Like, I don't think we talked about this enough, actually. Like, the timing of that goal that we got just before half time, like the fact that it was against the run of play, and I think that allowed us to come out the way we did in the second half, because we went into half time 2-1 up, right? Like, I think that had such a huge impact on the game state, the flow of the game, and how we approached the second half. And yeah, I completely agree with William. Like, that 15 to 45 minutes was so impressive from Liverpool. But as you say, that is telling us a lot about this team, right? That resilience to weather that storm, come out the other side, get a goal, and then go bang, kill them in the second half is so impressive. Like, we are witnessing such growth from this team, and yeah, this project is just so nice to be part of. Watching this, it's amazing. Like, if you're a neutral, put your bias aside, because if you're a neutral, like, fair enough, if you're a Tottenham fan, I'm not expecting you to kind of acknowledge this project, but if you don't have any rivalry towards Arsenal, I don't get why you wouldn't watch this project and be excited, seeing like where we've come from to where we're heading. I really don't get it.
So I saw some of the, obviously on Twitter, like the brigade have been out in full force. Not the Liverpool fans about VAR or penalties, but obviously there was a lot of people who said, like, let's see what happens to Arsenal when they play Tottenham and Liverpool, and they have 9 games in October.
They move the goalposts all the time. Now I've seen the narrative of, they've got to play X amount of away teams that are top 10. This, I'm like, keep moving the goalposts, whatever you want. Like,
yeah, like I think I saw there was a few comments, wasn't there, where we kind of said like, oh, like, have we played any good teams yet, or like, have we still not played any good enough teams? And then someone was, like, I think we were saying we were very impressed, and like, you know, as you say, if you're a neutral, like, surely you can acknowledge like the squad and the project and where we're going and how exciting it is to watch them develop. And I think one of the comments I read was like, I don't know, like, I think they've not really faced any tests yet. And I was kind of like, what do you mean? And they were like, oh, you know, like Leicester was shit and Palace was shit and Liverpool are really bad. And like, I'm like,
it's going to get to like game week 38 and there'll be a breakdown of all 37.
It'll be like all 30. And then I think it continued from there, actually, because then someone said, so you've just listed like half the league, and like, so you're saying just like everyone in the league is shit. And he was like, yeah, I am. They're all shit. This is like the Leicester season. Like, they're all shit. And I was like, okay. So before it was like, go beat these teams. Now when you beat them, it's like, oh, the whole league is shit. You're just lucky.
That's why I'm just so selective on who I listen to and whose opinions I place any value on. That's why I love the kind of little community. Like, I know it's very little, but this little community we've got, like, we're all like-minded Arsenal fans. We're all just sensible. Like, we're all just really excited with what's going on, and I just feel like we don't need to justify ourselves to idiots. Anyone that knows their football can see what you're seeing with this team, and yeah, just compare it with where we were a few years ago. Like, it's there for everyone to see. You've got to be living under a rock and incredibly ignorant to ignore it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think end of the day, we've suffered for so many years. We've been through some really tough times in the last few years, especially. And it's just nice to finally feel like we have a team that neutrals can love. Like if you're a young person growing up today, you're from you're not from the UK, and you're looking to support a team, and you're looking at the Premier League, like as you say, like that atmosphere at the stadium, the way we play, the young crowd, like. I
We've
don't
got such a
see many
diverse fan
people who
base as
don't want
well.
to
Like,
fall into like people fall in love with watching this team. I
yeah,
know
and even
Ajax
just
fans who are like, Arsenal's my prem team now. Like,
yeah, but even just the club in general. Like, one of the reasons I love our club so much is just the diversity. Like, you look around a match day, like, and even where I've grown up in Enfield, like, it's so diverse. And like, you go to Arsenal, it's so diverse in like sexuality, race, everything. Like, it's beautiful. It's such. Yeah, I think it's obvious why I love the club, right? But yeah, I completely agree. I think there's going to be there's going to be a wave of new Arsenal fans
yeah, I think
over
there's
the next.
definitely going to be some new fans coming
We're
on
in
board.
for a fun few years. I'm very confident in that.
I think it was
Very confident.
so I think it was one of the guys on Arsenal Vision, and he said that the atmosphere at the stadium and like just what he's seeing is the best it's been since like 1989 season
Oh,
and stuff
really?
like that.
Wow.
Like he was even talking about like
Even when
he
we
didn't
were
even
winning
mention
the
the
league.
Invincibles. Yeah, like
Wow. Okay.
he was just like what we're seeing is like unprecedented. Like what's going on around the club, the unity
Amazing.
from the fans. Like
Because I was
it's
lucky.
just an amazing moment.
I was at a few of the Invincibles at the games in the Invincible season, but I was like 8 years old, so I don't really remember like what the atmosphere was like. I remember being there when we beat Leicester to get crowned champions, and like I remember running around Southgate like with an inflatable trophy, 8 years old with my flag, but I don't remember the vibe around the club or anything. But yeah,
So
as
for anyone who
as
doesn't know, you mean Southgate, the area, not Gareth
oh yeah,
Southgate, the
yeah, so,
manager.
yeah.
For
Gareth,
anyone
put
listening who
Ben White
doesn't
in
know
the
what
England squad, you mug.
8-year-old Clayton running around with a flag around the Southgate just a few years after he missed his penalty. So honestly, it's been a really fun episode. We actually got to over 30 concurrent live views at one point. It was 32. So, the
Oh,
previous record was
thank
like
you.
20. So 32 live viewers. Honestly, like, I don't know what to say. We love you guys. Huge support from the AFC Bite-Sizers family. If you've enjoyed this episode, I've not even plugged the like till an hour in. So please do hit that like. It really helps us out. If you're listening on podcast, leave a review on Spotify, Apple, whatever podcast platform you listen on. We will be back on Friday, hopefully after the presses. So we'll release a time on Twitter soon. And we will,
The Leeds game,
yeah, exactly. The Leeds game is going to be a big one to preview, and we'll also maybe touch on the away game at Bodo a little bit like we did last week. So just 5 minutes on that.
Be good if we
It's
can
been
win that.
great pleasure. Yeah, that'd
Really
be good.
good if we
9
can win that.
points. That would be
Yeah.
amazing if we can go. I'd like to see that maybe we don't fly some of the starters out there all that way to that pitch you showed me a photo of, if we can.
Yeah.
Like the likes of Partey and Jesus, I don't think we necessarily want to be seeing them play that, especially after what happened to Jesus with the multiple head injuries. But yeah, overall, it's been an epic episode. It's been one of the best live. Lots of people in the chat. Like the whole club is just blowing up with positive sentiment right now, and we're really looking forward to the season ahead. And I think when we started this podcast journey, like I don't think we ever expected like the trajectory
like
to explode
5
like
people.
this.
Yeah. It was just an excuse to kind of talk Arsenal, really.
Exactly.
And,
like, we were like, we've had episodes, and even now we do, obviously, like, cause we go live at random times sometimes. But I feel like even now, like, we've had episodes where there's like 3-4 people watching live, and like, I think especially to the guys like Mike and some of the others who are always there, like every episode.
Yeah, Mike, Glenn, William, Chris,
all of you.
Like, yeah.
It just kind of keeps you motivated knowing that there's that solid core of like people who are here to support and want to take part in the conversations and a part of it on Twitter and helping share the word. So really exciting times ahead. Hopefully we'll meet some of you guys at a match or after the match. But in the meantime, huge game for the Arsenal, as we're saying. Lots of love to everyone. Thank you. And instead of the outro, I'm actually going to play us out with replaying.
Have you figured out the music?
Oh, right. No. So not yet, but I'm just going to replay a couple of the celebrations again for anyone who wasn't here earlier in the episode. Outside the Emirates with Tony Adams.
Top of the league. So we are top of the league.
Top of the league, and it's like Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Yeah. So up the Arsenal, guys. Enjoy this clip of the atmosphere. We'll see you next time.
Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go.